everyone to this micro lesson on getting ready for your first jam. My name is Carmack Polewska. I'm a game designer, teacher in game development, and I've been organizing and participating in jams for the past 8 years or so. I'm here with you today to talk more about the logistics and the organization aspects of organizing game jam on your site. So if you want to have more information about the core values and the mindset of jam, I'm inviting you to watch the What Does It Mean to Jam lesson in the same module, but this one will mostly focus on creating a space and an environment for the jam that will foster creativity and will be of a great help for the participants. So first, let's start with the logistics. Of course, you will need a space for the jam to happen. That space must not only be a working space, but also a play space and just a place where the participants can just relax and have a good time and be able to talk with each other. The idea behind that is that you cannot force someone to just work on their working station without having some sort of respite or helping them to communicate with others. So by inviting the participants to have a rest area, right, you will create an environment that is more interesting, that will foster creativity even more and foster also the relationships between the participants. So that's something to keep in mind, to have that kind of relationship between the working space and also the play space. Afterwards, I know it sounds obvious, but internet is often a major issue into the logistics of jams. The reason is that unless you're in a computer-specific room, a lot of people don't think about the load of having so much participants connect to the network at the same time. So even in big jams, professional settings, I've seen it happen, the whole network crashing, right? So ensure that you can have support with the IT if possible. Otherwise, just make sure that the bandwidth is large enough to handle the amount of computers. Again, in the same line of things, make sure that you have enough electricity supply. Same thing will happen, but even worse in that case, even in computer rooms, there could be issues with the fuse. And by having all the material and everything connected at the same time, it was draining a lot and it just blew a fuse. So just make sure that the electricity outlets are well spaced and that they're not just on the same fuse. That is also a common issue with jam spaces that I've seen often. So just keep that in mind, to have enough supply of electricity, enough outlets, same thing with the internet, enough bandwidth, and create a space that can foster creativity if possible. Apart from that, whenever the participants will start the jam, right, there's different ways, different approaches that you could have to create the teams. So of course, the first type will be just to create pre-made teams, friends that goes together, people that you want to be together. It's interesting and obviously it will work, but the thing is, it's generally more interesting to entice the participants based on their own field of interest. So if you create teams based on the field of interest of participants, what you could do is you could create several balanced teams. So let's say I split the students into three categories: the programmers, the designers, and the artists. Every student will be able to choose one of the three groups. And once they go into the group, well, you decide and you form the teams based on those fields. So you want balanced teams with, for example, if it's teams of three, well, one designer, one programmer, one artist. So you will create those teams that are way more balanced, because if you pre-make the team before without considering the interests of the students, It might cause issue where none of the students are interested by programming or by design, for example. So it's very important to also see what are the interests of your students in that case. And last but not least is to perform teams based on common ideas. So that's the next topic afterwards, but once you do a brainstorm, it's interesting actually to create teams based on the common ideas that I've come up with during the process. So especially you could still adapt the teams based on the fields of interest, and then afterwards, after the discussion, the brainstorm, you let the students work together and work on common ideas, for example. So for the brainstorm, there's 3 steps to follow that I've seen that is pretty efficient. The first step is, of course, about the individual brainstorm. So again, this is quite important. So after the revelation of the thematic of the jam, you should let some minutes for the participants to just soak in the information and think by themselves and find ideas. After that, you can create a brainstorm with the team if the team is constructed at that point, or in groups, for example, if it's not the case. And then you could do a brainstorm between everyone. So when they're in teams, you can ask them to choose their favorite ideas or ideas that they want to share with everyone. And again, you want to foster creativity and the collaboration. So you want them to share the ideas with the others, and that other groups or other students will be able to jump on the ideas and just push it forward. And that's the kind of environment, again, that you want to have. The brainstorming itself afterwards will be done after by the teams themselves. So everyone will join a group, or they're already in a group. And again, they can work on that as they want. And there shouldn't be any time limit to this, obviously. So leave them working on their brainstorm. If you see that they're struggling, well, you can act upon it, but there shouldn't be any time limit regarding that. During the jam, so you should let them socialize at all time in the jam. So that means you let them communicate together as a team, but also communicate between teams, in between each others, and between friends. So again, you want to foster that collaboration aspect out of the jam. As I said in other lesson, it's important to foster the journey of the jam. The game jam is not about the destination as it is about the journey itself. So you should let a lot of freedom to the participants, ideally. So let them communicate, let them share their work with you, with their friends, and also more importantly, let them play. So if you see them playing the prototype of their friends, that's okay. They're gonna share ideas together. They're gonna be able to communicate. And that's actually good. The end result by itself is not necessarily the more interesting thing. In that case, what you want is to specifically let the students collaborate and communicate between each other and foster that kind of environment. On your side, that means 3 things though. So first part, make sure that you have enough support to help them if they have game development questions. So again, try to let them find the solution by themselves, but you can always tip them towards the right way. Technical support is also crucial and super important. A lot of people forgets about it, and you never know when the computer is going to crash, basically. So make sure that you have someone that can help if something happens with the computers. And last but not least, feedback. If the students want feedback, if they want you to play their game, it's great and it's important for them to be able to discuss about it. So feedback is great during the jam. At the end of the jam, depending of your situation, ideally you will showcase the games. If you have a small group, maybe everyone one at a time can present their own games. If they don't have anything to present because something crashed, for example, that's also okay. Let them speak about what they did during the entire jam because, again, journey is important, not necessarily the destination. If you have a much larger group, I will advise you to just do a playtest with everyone. So that will mean that after the jam is ended, you let everyone try out the games from everyone else. So you have some computers or some tables that are set up with the games, and you just let all the students try them all. And yes, it might be a bit chaotic, so it might be tricky to handle, but it's also more interesting and more organic in that sense. Also, feedback is crucial at the end of the activity. That feedback can come from you, it can come from professionals if you can invite them, but the idea is to give constructive feedback to the students based on their own level, actionable feedback that they can actually improve on and that they could understand and make them progress. And rewards should not be encouraged at the end of the activity because the activity in itself should be rewarding enough for the participants. If you really want to reward the participants, try to do it more by the feedback loop, but try to avoid those physical rewards. If you do have some, well, you can give rewards to everyone, but by just selecting a few games and just putting them on the podium, I feel it diminishes a lot of the experience that the jam has of learning and be able to foster the creativity and also just the failure aspect. It's completely fine to fail a jam, again, because you've learned through the way. So I don't feel it's fair in that kind of activity to put some games, for example, on the podium. So think about it. That's the end of it. I just hope you're gonna have enough information with this that will help you think about some crucial elements. And I hope it gave you enough tips about the logistics and the structure of organizing Game Jam. So I'm thanking you for your time, and the most important thing, have fun.